I'm Gillian. I'm based in London. I am currently finishing my 4-year qualification and becoming a registered nutritional therapist. I work part-time for an integrative medicine doctor, and I am a volunteer helpline volunteer for Robin's amazing cancer charity, Yes to Life. But my story starts about 5 years ago. I was living and working in Paris, in the fashion industry, having the time of my life, working very hard, but also playing even harder, drinking too much, smoking too much, living my life like a typical 20-year-old, basically. But that all changed in 2015. I lost my father to a really sudden heart attack, and I had my first seizure 6 weeks after his death, and my second seizure 6 weeks after that one, when I was in Hong Kong, just after his funeral. And once you've had 2 seizures, you are classified as epileptic. So I was rushed to hospital to have a whole load of scans and testing done to rule out epilepsy. But they didn't find any signs of epilepsy. What they did find was a large shadow in my right frontal lobe. So there you can see that's a picture of my first CT scan. And, I was looking, my life up until that point, I had no idea that anything was growing in my brain. I had no other symptoms of having a brain tumor. Actually, the doctors at that point thought that it was a benign tumor because it was so large and I didn't have any other symptoms. So they actually told me to do nothing for now, go back to Paris, go back to work, and then when you're in Hong Kong for Christmas, we can then do a biopsy. But fortunately, my family and I, we decided to seek a second opinion, and we were recommended to see a really good neurosurgeon, and he told me that leaving a mass that size would be like walking around with a ticking time bomb in my head. So naturally, we organized to have the surgery as soon as possible, but that was only in 6 weeks' time because that was when he could do it. And at the time, that felt like a really long time to have this in my brain, but with hindsight now, looking back, I realized that those 6 weeks were really important to me getting through this in the best way that I have. And also, luckily for me, even though I was working in the fashion industry, I was fortunate to be given this book 4 years before my diagnosis, and hopefully everyone in this room has read it. If you haven't, then I suggest you read it immediately. This book completely changed my life, and a dear friend gave it to me 4 years before I was diagnosed. And I remember finishing it. I can vividly remember it still, finishing it and thinking, oh my God, I don't need to be scared of cancer anymore. I'll know what to do if I get it. And I learned so many things from that book, but here are just a few. So I didn't know before reading that book that actually it's only 5 to 10% of cancer cases that are caused by our genes and our genetics. And actually the most part have their roots, as it says here, in environmental and lifestyle factors, most of which we're in control of. We can control our diet, we can control our environment that we live in as much as possible. I also learned that, actually every one of us has cancer cells growing every single day, but it's our whole body systems that are capable of destroying those cancer cells before they get out of control. But it's when our internal environment, I think what we've heard today about our extracellular environment, when that becomes compromised, which can be done through poor diet, poor lifestyle choices, that's when cancer can, overtake our systems. So I had all this prior knowledge prior to getting my diagnosis, which really helped me have a different perspective compared to the average cancer patient. It made me really question not why did I get, well, I know, it really made me question why I got cancer compared to another 31-year-old. I wasn't the only person smoking loads and drinking loads throughout their 20s. Why me? Why did I get a brain tumor and not someone else? But I wasn't asking myself these kind of questions to wallow in self-pity or to blame myself. It was really, they really motivated me to find out what was the cause of my cancer and what made me different to another person. And I really wanted to find the root cause. And through all my reading and research in those 4 years, that led me to discover functional medicine, which is another way of saying integrative medicine in this country. And really, it's all about finding the root cause of chronic illness. And anyone with a complex chronic illness will know if you want to get to the root cause of it, functional medicine is a really great way to do that. And what we're looking at is in the roots of a tree, for example, we have all these imbalances, and the things on the top, on the leaves, these are clusters of symptoms that are labeled diseases like diabetes, cancer, heart disease. And so I only saw my tumor as a symptom of underlying imbalances that I needed to correct, and need to discover which of these root causes may have been affecting me to make me end up with this tumor. So as soon as I was diagnosed, I Google searched Hong Kong for a functional medicine trained nutritionist to help me, because I knew I couldn't do this all by myself. So luckily I found one pretty much straight away, and immediately we did a lot of testing, which we've heard speakers talk about today. So it's been really reassuring listening that I've done probably a lot of the right things. So a lot of lifestyle analysis. What was I doing with my lifestyle to get me to this point? I knew alcohol is not great for you. I know smoking is not great for you. But then again, it was always the question, why me? Because there's tons of alcohol. People drink alcohol. People smoke all the time. They don't get cancer. So a lot of the testing that we did was really useful to uncover why me and not someone else. So a lot of micronutrient analysis, amino acid profiles. This was to uncover did I have imbalances in my nutritional intakes, and we could correct that through diet and then targeted supplementation. Wanted to find out what environmental pollutants, what toxins were building up in me, which we found quite a few, and the detoxigenomic profile, we heard about that this morning with Patricia Peet. I found out that I have genetic weaknesses in the two phases of liver detoxification. So that meant with all the smoking and all the drinking and all the chemicals that had accumulated, genetically I wasn't able to eliminate these toxins like someone else. So this all really helped me build a picture of, okay, so really gives me a good clue to why I got cancer and not someone else. And it also gave me so much empowerment to know that actually these are things that can be corrected. All imbalances can be corrected with a lot of work, but knowing them gives you the power, just like we have been talking about today, knowledge is power. And so with these results, we put together an integrated approach, which was highly personalized to me, myself, and I. And that's what I really think is super important for any cancer patient. You want it to be personalized to you. Conventional medicine and their treatments, they don't really personalize. You're going to get chemo that they've given to every single cancer patient with the same tumor, which I did. So I was recommended to do the standard of care, which was surgery, chemotherapy, and radiotherapy. So I had my brain surgery first, and luckily I had these 6 weeks leading up to my operation, why I said earlier, I really think having that time before my surgery, which a lot of cancer patients don't get. Once you're diagnosed, you are put on that conveyor belt. You are shoveled along to surgery within 2 days sometimes. You haven't even let the diagnosis sink in. So I was quite lucky to have these 6 weeks to really build up, change my diet, start on supplements, start green juicing. I started on really powerful anti-cancer supplements like medicinal mushrooms, cannabis oil. I started doing things like daily coffee enemas because I had this weakness in my liver, genetics. And so that was just before my surgery. And so I was super strong going into surgery. I bounced back, within a week I'm out of hospital. And then I had another 4 weeks to let my scars heal from the surgery. So I had another 4 weeks to keep implementing, getting stronger and stronger with this new anti-cancer lifestyle that we'd put together. And then, so going into treatment, I was also really, much stronger than the average patient. And alongside the chemotherapy and radiation, which at first I had to have 6 weeks of that at the same time, followed by 6 cycles of an oral chemotherapy, which is at a higher dose. I read a lot. I'd read a lot about high-dose vitamin C, so I really wanted to do that. I think I even forced my nutritionist to get me it. I did it at the same time as I was doing the chemotherapy and radiation. There's a bit of controversy around that. I honestly didn't care. I'd read enough to convince me that I wanted to protect my non-cancerous cells from the damage of the toxic treatments, and that's all I cared about. I did far infrared sauna pretty much daily during my treatments as well. And then the most important thing, yes, I went through all the conventional treatment, but it was when that was over, that was just the beginning. That's when I thought, well, I've done as much as I can to neutralize the toxicity, but now I'm still left probably with a lot of toxic buildup in my body, especially knowing that I've got these genetic weaknesses that don't clear chemicals and toxins very well. So in my head, I need to do even more work to get all that stuff out of my system. So I focused on completely detoxing my body and restoring as much balance as I could. I mean, I'm still doing that today, to be honest. But here's just a list of the things that I really started doing as much as I could. For about 2 years, I was really gung-ho about it, I must say. And any cancer patient in the room will know cancer is a full-time job. So it really took up all my time. I've only been able to start working part-time in the last 2 years. And I said a lot of the ongoing therapies are there as well. And the latest one that I've started in the last 6 months is Dr. Kuchera's mitochondrial therapy. So I'm on the carnosine, I'm on his supplements, and have to say I feel great. And it's enabled me to kind of take my foot off the pedal a little bit. I've drastically reduced the amount of supplements that I've been taking because I'm restoring the communication within my system so that that all works properly. And I'm gradually just trying to move to a place where I can live my life, get back to normal, let's say, and go on to support cancer patients in my future career. So what has cancer taught me? There's been so much of the physical side with all the therapies I did, with the lifestyle change and all of that. But massive part of it, which is often overlooked, I think, by cancer patients, is the mind-body aspect. So once I kind of felt like I was out of the red zone, 2 years past treatment, I've really focused on a lot of these mind-body techniques to help me, with the help of expert practitioners. Again, I can't do it all. We can't do it all by ourselves. So this is an ongoing process. I mean, thanks to all of this, I don't think I'd be up here today speaking in front of so many people telling my story. So, and everybody loves a good before and after. So I thought I'd just add a few photos of me prior to my surgery, right after my surgery. And then probably the worst part of the whole thing was losing my hair. We're all vain creatures, and that really was really hard to take. Even though we all knew it was going to happen, this was purely from the radiation, by the way. They told me I was going to lose just a really small patch on my right side, but actually it took over pretty much the whole of my head, so that was annoying. But anyway, on the right, that's me in this ozone therapy machine when I was in the detox phase of recovery. And this is me, out of the red zone and feeling better than ever with my life. And so I really hope that my story gives you a clearer picture of an example of what an integrative approach can look like to cancer. And I really believe that it can have, can really increase your outcomes of cancer. And I'm really grateful my cancer. It's changed my life for the better. And I hope it's inspired you today. So thank you very much. Thank you.